Hello everyone, so this week we are going to be diving into another layer of communication. We're going to be looking at interpersonal communication. So let's go ahead. Now, as we defined earlier, interpersonal communication is in between two people, and this is the best way for us to keep up with the relationships. A lot of times it's face to face, but as we'll get there and we'll talk about it a little bit later, and we talk about proxemics and different things like that, with FaceTime and texting and social media and all of that stuff, it's a lot easier to do interpersonal relationships on the other sides of the globe and just anywhere in the world. Again, interpersonal communication is the best way to keep up with the relationships. So let's define the word relationships. A relationship is an exchanging and communicating ideas, thoughts, attitudes to connect to people. And it's an ongoing connection to people. Okay? So with communication in relationships, you're basically always doing the communication process. So the little thing where we had with two people that was going like this, that's a relationship. No matter if it's a hate or a love relationship, a relationship is exchanging and communicating thoughts or ideas, attitudes, etc. Okay? Now, there are 4 different levels of attraction that we're going to be covering. 2 fit in with each other, and then the other 2 fit in with each other. But they're all 4 parts of attraction. So first is short-term initial attraction. Now, short-term initial attraction is like the first instincts you have with people, the first impressions, different things like that. So you see someone and you look across and you're like, they look good. It could be that, but it could also be you hear someone at an event and you're like, oh, they're talking about a TV show I like. That's initial attraction. It doesn't just have to be physical looks. It could also be other attributes that the person has. It could be the way that they act with other people, the way they treat their grandma, or it could just be the way the person walks or different things like that. But that's short-term initial attraction. And then we have long-term initial attraction, or sorry, long-term maintenance attraction. This is basically the long term. Now, a lot of people think of this as like marriage or very, very long relationships. But the truth of the matter is most relationships that we have can easily fit into this. Because short-term initial attraction, the people at the mall that we see, and we're like, oh wow, we're attracted to them. That's short-term initial attraction. We never see them again. But once you really have a connection with someone and you talk to them for a little bit longer, and then you even maybe have a lot of times you're going to have a second date, or a second conversation, or you go back to them, that all of a sudden becomes a long-term maintenance attraction. So if you go to McDonald's or Sonic or the pretzel place in the mall, wherever like that, and you were talking to the same person multiple times, that's a long-term maintenance attraction. Okay, that relationship is that form of attraction because you keep going back to them. Yes, it might be because they have the pretzels that you really like, but still, that's a long-term maintenance attraction. The very first time you met them could be short-term initial attraction. You're attracted to that person because they're working at the place that has the great pretzels, but you come back to them. Okay? Now, first of all, this is not the pretzel relationship is not our ideal long-term maintenance attraction relationship, but it's still an example. But we always want the marriage as a great example, right? But this is still a form. Okay? Now, going on to the next 2 is physical. So we have physical attraction. This is with the physical attributes. But do you like their hair? Do you like the way their eyes look? Do you like the way that they handle their body? Different things like that. Okay? But this is physical attraction, the physical attributes that someone has. Now, the next one is sexual attraction. This is more so the romantic relationship. Realize, physical attraction, you do not have to be romantically or sexually attracted to them. Because with physical attraction, you can look at someone, you can look at your best friend and be like, oh my gosh, I really like the way that person looks. Or you can say, oh wow, look, they're wearing a shirt that says Captain America. I'm physically attracted to that person because of that shirt. Now, I might not want to be in a romantic relationship with that person, such as sexual attraction, but I am attracted to them physically by the physical appearance that they have. So realize, physical attraction just isn't like, ooh, I want to date you, or ooh, we're attracted to each other. It's the, wow, you have something about you physically that I like that appeals to me, and that is physical attraction. Now, proximity is what I discussed a little bit earlier. Proximity is the study of space. So anything to do with the people and the place around you. So it's the study of space. Now with social media, FaceTime, different things like that, we're able to connect two different sides of the globe a lot easier. Now, over the summer, I was in, over the summer I went to go teach at a university type in China, which I've probably discussed a couple times. But with that, it was very hard to be that far away from my wife and my son. But with social media and FaceTime, we were able to connect. It was actually an app called WeChat, but we were able to connect. And I was in Shanghai, China, and she was in the U.S. in Texas area. So we were able to connect even though we were basically on opposite sides of the globe, even though technically Florida and Shanghai are opposite sides of the globe. But we were able to connect in different time zones, and we are 12 hours apart, 13 hours apart, sorry. Okay? Now, complementary. When you're in a relationship, you want to make sure that you're going to get someone who makes you complementary, so they round out your abilities. I am an awful speller, but I normally get people in my research who's good spellers, along with other things that they're really good at. But I'm an awful speller. My wife, I always tell people that she is one of the most amazing people in the world because she has a mathematics degree with a minor in computer science, even though she's awful at technology. But she's pretty good at coding and doing different things like that. And she loves math. I enjoy math as well, but she's so strong in math. She's so smart when it comes to writing papers. She's great in English. She knows history like crazy. She was valedictorian at her high school with over 300 students. Very smart. But then on the other side of that, she also is very good in the arts. She loves to paint, and one of her biggest paintings that she's ever done has been featured in a museum. She's actually had two paintings in museums. So my wife literally is like the full package, and she literally has everything. But she's missing one thing that she's terrified and she cannot do. She cannot speak in front of people. If there's more of a group of 3 or more, which is small group or higher, then she shuts down. She can do interpersonal group decently, but she cannot public speak. She cannot communicate that well, and she's terrified just to talk to people. At her job, she communicates mostly via email, which is perfect for her. But if you look at it, my wife, literally, if you look at the circle graph, is like this. And then there's me. I fell in this little tiny piece. Now, granted, I am good at other things such that she is, that we overlap. But it's fun because she's literally good at like 90% of things in life. And then there's me who's good at the other 10% that she is not good at. So, you want to make sure that you find someone to round out your abilities. And you include other people that can round out your abilities, and that other people are always involved. If you're in a group, you want to make sure that you're including them. But interpersonal relationships, you want to make sure that you're including people in your interpersonal relationships, that you are rounding out your abilities. Each relationship has a reason, and it could just be to have a great friendship or to have a relationship with them. But there's a reason for each relationship. If that relationship does not have a reason, then you need to terminate that relationship. Sometimes it could just because you really just want someone to sit next to you in the movie. That could be the relationship. Figure out the reason for each relationship. And if it's a reason you're willing to keep, great. Keep that relationship. But if not, that maybe is something you don't want to include, and that you don't want to include them on other activities. Okay? The biggest thing is control. This is where a lot of abuse happens and a lot of relationships kind of falter. But you have one person in the relationship who wants to control everything, micromanage everything. And then the other person who's like, oh, okay. So make sure you're not that person who's trying to micromanage everything. But also make sure you're not the person in the relationship who has someone who is micromanaging everything and who is trying to tell them what to do. This also goes for groups. Let's say you're in a group and one person's supposed to do the PowerPoint, one person's supposed to do the outline, one person's supposed to do blah, blah, blah. I actually have had this happen where, and then the other person just ends up changing everything. But I've actually had this happen where I've had a group and one person was in charge of the PowerPoint, one person was in charge of the outline, and then one person was in charge, they're going to send that person something, and they're all going to get together and do something. Well, the people who were in charge of the outline, they got together and the outline looks good. They sent it to the person who was supposed to upload it to me. Same with the PowerPoint. There's 2 people who got together to work on the PowerPoint, sent it to the one person. So there's 5 people in the group. 2 worked on the outline, 2 worked on the PowerPoint, and there's one person who's going to upload everything. Well, that one person loves to control everything. So once they sent it, the PowerPoint and sent the outline, when it was uploaded to me, it looked awful. And it was all wrong. So they ended up failing because that person changed everything. Later what happened is the 4 people came up to me and said, hey, this was our outline, this was our PowerPoint. And I ended up grading them according to their PowerPoint and their outline that they submitted me. But I graded the other person who submitted everything, and that person ended up failing because that person did not do what they were supposed to do, and they were trying to control everything, which ended up failing their whole group in the long run. Okay? And again, the other 4, they did great. Their stuff looked phenomenal, but that one person did not know how to do it. And then affection. We need to make sure that we are showing everyone affection and that this is not something we're using as a manipulation tool. You've probably seen this on TV a lot where the girl or the guy, but most of the time it's the woman telling the guy, well, if you don't fix that, then we're not going to have sex until you fix it. That is the worst thing to do because love and affection should not be used as a manipulation tool. Everyone should feel loved. Everyone should feel accepted. Let's say you're in a relationship. Let's say it's a romantic relationship. And every day, so for example, my relationship with my wife, every day we leave, I pick up my son to take him to daycare. And then we tell each other, I love you, goodbye, and we give each other a kiss. If we don't do that, then my wife could be like, oh my gosh, is there something wrong? Why did you not do that? And it could easily be, I just forgot. But we always want to make sure we do the basics that we always do. And every night we kiss each other goodnight and say goodnight, I love you. We want to do that. Same with every relationship. You want to make sure everyone is feeling loved and accepted. If you're mad at someone in your friendship, yes, there's a way to tell them you're mad, but giving them the silent treatment is a way, but you still want to make sure that they know that, even though you're frustrated with them, they are still loved and accepted according to you. Okay? So make sure you figure out how to work conflict, which we'll go over how to work conflict in interpersonal and small groups later in the semester. But you always want to make sure everyone feels loved and accepted. Okay? Now, social penetration theory is a theory that really explains how relationships work. So it looks a little bit like a bullseye. Now we're going to be going over 4 levels, but realize in social penetration theory there can be millions of levels, but we're focusing on 4. So the first level is random topics. That's right down here, the outer layer. Okay? So how are you? What's your name? Where are you from? What are you majoring in? Etc. Once you know that, you dive into this next level, which is the superficial level. Okay, I know where they're from, I know their name, I know where they sit with me in class, but that's pretty much all I know about them. And then once you do that, all of a sudden you go into it a little deeper. There's the intimate level. This is where a lot of your friends sit. Okay, I know a lot about them, and we're pretty close, and that's pretty good. And then very intimate level. This is where a lot of parents can be, significant others, best friends can be. I know really their next move. I know almost everything about them. I know what they're going to do. I can predict their behavior, is this level. But realize, this level right here is when you first meet someone, the random topics. In superficial level, this could be a friend that sits next to you in class. You know where they're from, you know information about them, but that's pretty much it. But realize the random topics could also be the friend. If you don't talk to people in class, you might be stuck in the random topics phase for a long time. But you're all of a sudden in the superficial level. You talk to them probably every class. Before class starts, you each get there 5 minutes before class starts, and you say, oh, hey, how was your week? Oh, good, this is what I did, etc., etc. Okay? And then the intimate level, again, is where your closest friends are going to be, or just your friends that you hang out with, your inner circle. Then your very intimate level. Some parents might be on the intimate level, some parents might be on the very intimate level. For the longest time, my mom was on the very intimate level, but my dad was on the intimate level. Because my mom and I connected really well, and my dad and I, we knew almost everything about each other. But we had that relationship where, in high school, it wasn't as well as I wanted it to. But today, both my parents would be in the very intimate level, and so would my sister and my brother-in-law. Some of my sister-in-laws, my wife's sisters, would be in the very intimate level, but a couple of them are on the intimate level. Okay? So it just depends. And realize, like I said, my dad and I were at the very intimate level, or the intimate level, and then we went to very intimate level. I bet when I was younger, we were at very intimate level, and then we went out and then back in. So everyone can go, and they can be rotating throughout. The random topics one is the really one that once they cross it, they're not going to get past it unless you just don't see them for 10 years, and then you're back to the random topics. So a lot of my classmates, for my 10-year reunion that will be coming up in like 4 years, they are going to be at this random topic again. Okay? Now, the Johari window is the last thing we're going to be covering. So, right here, we have something that says known to self. This is not known to self, then it's known to others, and then not known to others. So, if you know how to read a grid, which hopefully you do, because you're in college, we're going to do known to self here, covers these two. Known to others covers these two. Not known to self covers these two, and not known to others covers these two. I hope that did not just blow your mind, that how you read that, because that's the easiest part of it. So let's look. Known to self and known to others. They come in a T right here. So this quadrant right here is known as open. So this means it's open. We all know that I'm a professor at OPSU. We all know that I have a kid. We all know I have a wife. That's open. Okay? But not known to self and known to others, that's blind. A lot of times this could be something that we just don't know, but everyone around us sees. For the longest time, I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do with my life. Finally, right before I graduated college, I'm like, I'm going to teach. I am going to be a teacher, but I want to be a college professor. My mom was like, I always knew you wanted to teach. Why are you just now figuring this out? And I'm like, what? How did you know that? My dad was like, yeah, we all knew you were going to be a teacher. And I'm like, I didn't. How did you not tell me that? They go, we just thought you knew. So they thought it was open, but it was blind. They knew, and they also wanted me to figure out my own journey, so it was blind to me. I didn't see it, but my parents were like, of course we knew you were going to be a teacher. It would have saved me a lot of major changes, okay? And then we have the not known to others and known to self. This is hidden. This is like secret stuff that you keep inside that you don't tell me. Now realize, I tell my wife a lot of stuff. So with my wife, basically all our relationship is open because I never shut up and I can't ever keep a secret from her. Okay, but to you, I have a lot of hiddens. Not because it's a secret, because some things you just don't know about me. And if you ask me, I might be like, oh yeah, that's so true. You know, I have one sister, but you didn't know about that. So I had one sister that was hidden from you, but now it's open. Okay, there's a lot about you that you know that I don't know about you, just because we're not going to be able to figure out about everyone's life within one time. Plus, we are going to have secrets from each other that you don't want me to know and I don't want you to know. And then finally, not known to self and not known to others. This is the unknown, so the future, what you're doing with your life. We don't really know where we're going. Like, my goal is to get my doctorate and to teach college full time instead of just adjunct professor at a couple different universities. Okay, we don't know where that's going to lead. Okay, now what you need to do next is you need to now go and look at your discussion and your attendance. For this attendance, you're going to be doing the communication apprehension test. It's very easy to take. You just answer questions on a scale of 1 to 5, and it's questions about you. So you're going to be looking at your life and how you're going to react in a small group. You're going to react in an interpersonal relationship and in public speaking. There's 4 different groups. So make sure that you're able to look at it and understand what to do. And then the other one, you're going to go interview someone. It could be your girlfriend, it could be your grandma, it could be the random person in the mall. Please, someone do a random person in the mall. I would love that. But you're going to interview them. You're going to need to make up questions. Open-ended versus closed-ended. You need to be able to figure out what the difference is, okay? So once you figure out the difference between open-ended versus closed-ended, ask more open-ended questions, okay? Closed-ended can help you get there, but ask questions. And you're going to become like a newspaper journalist where you're going to be then writing a very short paper, an article over someone, because you just got to know that person a little bit more. Like every week, if you have any questions, let me know. And if you do not, I hope you have a great week. Bye guys, have a great day.